Hello, I'm Michelle Graff, and this is 5 things you need to know about self-care. Number 1, self-care is intentional. It's not a reactionary measure to be taken when we're at the end of our rope. It is a practice that is woven into our daily, weekly, and even monthly routines. It is what you planfully do to nurture yourself. And in that way, it differs from self-regulation skills. Though they're related, self-regulation are the skills we employ as a response to being triggered by stress. Self-care skills are the habits we develop over time so we're less likely to be triggered by stress. Think of the things you can incorporate into your daily, weekly, and monthly routines that nurture our well-being. Most people find it helpful to actually create a written plan, at least until the new self-care ideas can become habit. Number 2, numbing is not self-care. Helping professionals who experience secondary trauma and chronic stress can be left exhausted and can feel a need to shut out the source of their pain. Unfortunately, this leads some to choose activities in the name of self-care that involve numbing our emotional connections. This can create a disconnect when what we really need is to reconnect. Now, I'm not just referring to drinking or other substance use. Numbing can also include vegging out in front of the television, boredom eating, playing repetitive games on your phone, or mindlessly scrolling through social media. Now, none of these activities are necessarily harmful themselves. They just might lack the nourishing connection that real self-care can provide. Even worse, it's difficult to selectively numb negative emotions without losing the positive ones. Thus, we inadvertently deny ourselves the source of genuine healing and revitalization. Now, we all occasionally need to unwind from a challenging day's work, especially those of us who work in stressful environments. However, there's a fine line between what is relaxing and what is numbing. When we are effectively caring for our mind, body, and spirit, we should feel a sense of rejuvenation. Remember, it's not the activity itself that's the problem, it's how you're engaging in it, and it's up to you to determine if you are engaging in an activity to numb or to connect. So when choosing to unwind, ask yourself the following questions. Does this activity help me to feel rejuvenated? Does this activity help me to focus? Does this activity increase my awareness? And does this activity help me to sleep better? When choosing an activity for self-care, try to pick something that you can answer yes to. Number 3, self-care is not about eliminating stress, but rather it's about building resiliency. All life has stress. Self-care is what we do so that stress doesn't get the better of us. Think of it as exercising your wellness muscle. When our nervous system interprets the stress in our lives as a threat, it can trigger a response of fight, flight, or freeze. As we said before, while self-regulation can restore a sense of safety, self-care actually broadens our ability to handle stress without being triggered. Number 4, complete self-care covers more than one wellness domain. Now that can include our body, our mind, and our social emotional well-being. Just as self-care for the body includes nutrition, exercise, and sleep, self-care for the mind includes nurturing your creativity, doing things like music, engaging in art, sewing, cooking, gardening. Also, self-care for the mind can include cultivating new learning, reading, or just engaging in new experiences that are invigorating. And most importantly, self-care should also include meaningful connections and activities that feed the soul. I find it helpful to think about the things that I've done or just thought of doing that really spark joy. So when you're developing a self-care plan, remember to consider ideas for all 3 of these well-being domains. Number 5, self-care is not selfish. Those of us who have flown have no doubt heard the flight attendants instruct us that in the case of an emergency, we should secure our own oxygen masks before attempting to assist others. As counterintuitive as that may sound to those who routinely put the needs of others before their own, it's not callous or selfish. It's simply the logical recognition that without oxygen, we can be of no help to anyone. Yet, for helping professionals to accept this logic, we must overcome barriers in our work environment, job demands, and even our own mind traps that keep us from making self-care a priority. Therefore, we must remind ourselves of the logic of the flight attendant's instructions to secure our own oxygen first. It takes courage to put the mask on so you can be at your best when you are needed. And that's 5 things you need to know about self-care.